matter to follow up on after the storm passed. Her valley didn't have the kind of drug problems as many other communities, and Bet wanted to see it stay that way. If Jamie had any information on a rise in illegal activity, that could be useful. The rest of the notes she would return to Alma to deal with. Right now, weathering the tempest would take all of Bet's resources. Bringing up the radar one more time, Bet's stomach clenched as she tracked the monster storm. What if she made a decision during this event that hurt her entire community? Confidence didn't make responsibility lighter to bear, and the hot, sunny streets of Los Angeles hadn't prepared her for 1,000 residents slowly buried under several feet of snow. They were a long way from the plowed highways and larger cities with fully functional hospitals. Bet was the first line of defense against disaster. She was also likely the last line of defense. Once they were snowed in, she couldn't bring help in from the outside. A year ago, she had been poised to take the detective's exam in Los Angeles. Her goal was a long and successful career in the nation's largest police force. But events outside her control got in the way, and now she was back in Collier, trying to fill her father's large, all too recently vacated shoes. She faced a once-in-a-century storm with her lone deputy, a septuagenarian secretary, and one very big dog. Her first instinct was to talk to her father, but his death prevented her from ever gaining new insight into his expertise. Her second instinct was to contact Sergeant Magdalena Carrera. Maggie had mentored Bet during her time at the LAPD. "We chicas need to stick together," she'd said to Bet early on in her career, back when Bet still called her sergeant. But as good as Maggie was at her job, Bet doubted she'd have much advice about facing a blizzard. "It's up to us, Schweitzer," Bet said to the Anatolian shepherd sitting in her doorway. "As long as no one has a heart attack after the storm hits, we'll be fine." Schweitzer had a look on his face like he knew what was coming. He always could read her mood, not to mention the weather, and he'd been edgy all morning. She had learned to read his mood, too, and right now it wasn't good. "It's going to be all right, Schweitz." It surprised her to realize she believed her own words. She could handle this. Lakers, residents proudly took the nickname from their mysterious lake, could hunker down in their valley and survive on their own. Everyone in town knew that if snow blocked them in and a helicopter couldn't fly, they had no access to a hospital. But Donna was good at her job, too. Plus, it would only be for a couple of days. The phone on her desk rang, jarring her from her thoughts. As long as the ring didn't herald an emergency, everything would be fine. Bet rolled out in her black and white on the long teardrop of road that circled the valley. She didn't turn on her siren. There wasn't anyone on the loop to warn of her approach, and the sound felt too loud, like a scream into the colorless void. The emergency lights on top of her SUV stained the white, unmarked fields of snow on either side, red, then blue, then red again, like blood streaking the ground. Her studded tires roared on the hard-packed snow, the surface easy to navigate, at least for now. The drive to Jeb Pearson's place took less than 20 minutes, even with the worsening conditions. Pearson's ranch sat at the end of the valley, farthest from the lake in the town center. The ranch occupied an area the locals called the train yard, though that name didn't show up on any official maps. Long ago, the roundhouse for the Collier's private railway perched there at the end of the tracks. The roundhouse was a huge wedge-shaped brick structure, like 1/3 of a pie with the tips of the slices bitten off. It was built to house the big steam engines owned by the Colliers. The facility could hold 5 engines, each pulled inside through giant glass and iron doors. Engines could be parked and serviced inside the roundhouse, while an enormous turntable sat out front to spin the engines around, sending them down different tracks in order to pass each other in opposite directions. It was unlikely the Colliers ever housed 5 engines up here all at once, but they owned other mines around the state and had used engines in other places. It must have been reassuring to know that if they ever needed to, they could bring their assets up here, protected in their high-elevation fiefdom. Jeb used the property as a summer camp for boys who struggled with drug and alcohol addictions and guest houses for snow